Let's call this meeting to order. It's 5:29 on Tuesday, the 25th. Welcome, everybody. Clearly cannot be here, so Joe has just graciously volunteered to give our landing.
British to the Tlingit Haida and Shimshim people. We respectfully acknowledge them as the original inhabitants of Southeast Alaska. Hartley Regional Hospital is located on the homelands of the Akwaan. We are grateful to provide services near the ancestral homeland and to be part of this community.
Thank you. Nita?
Ms. Letterman is absent. Dr. Kingy? Matt Smertz?
Here.
Lisa Peterson? Here. Paul Geiger?
Present.
Amy is absent. Shelley Deering? Here. Dr. Rester?
Here.
And Deb Johnston?
Here.
And we also have Dr. Mather and Ms. Benninger.
Thank you all. Are there any recommended changes to the agenda? Hearing none, I entertain a motion to approve the agenda. A second.
I'll move.
You're going to second. And in advance of the Dr. Raster's motion. Thank you both. Do we have anybody from the public who would like to participate today? See anybody? Okay. And now I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda. To make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Right. Old business, Ms. McDowell, if you give us a capacity update.
Madam Chair, for the capacity update, we are actually at an interesting place right now. We've been at, we have not really been seen a low census like we usually have in the years past. So there really hasn't been very many days where we have had a kind of a dip in our census before preseason. It stayed pretty consistent. And so that's related to staffing and beds. So we have found ourselves pretty full, which makes us a tad nervous going into cruise season. For our patient days on CCU, there are 58, MedSurg 305, MHU 256, OB is 63, newborn nursery is 46, and ED saw 853 patients last month. We have 9 people awaiting placement. 4 of those are waiting to be assessed by PT to determine appropriateness of placement. 2 for assisted living, 1 that's in subacute rehab that needs to go to assisted living, and 1 that needs subacute rehab, and 1 that needs and I have some updates about, I don't know if you want to give them now. It's kind of related to the volcano and then some legislation that Governor Dunleavy has put in. So whichever.
Now would be fine.
Okay. So there is a volcano. It is 78 miles northwest of Anchorage called Mount Spur Volcano. It is not, the experts aren't saying if it's going to explode basically, or it's going to be when. So they're thinking it'll be within the next couple of weeks. What that means for us is difficulty with air travel. So they're anticipating all flights would be grounded. Last time this happened, there was no air travel for about 20 days. That's going to affect medevacs as well.
No, it was 20 hours.
I mean, sorry, 20 hours. You're right. I was thinking someone told me 10 days and I was like, I didn't read that. Yes, 20 hours. Thank you, Lisa.
I don't mean to be in trouble with all of it.
No, 20, and I have it written down right here. So 20 hours. So we're just trying for prep for that in the Southeast and what that would mean for us, not being able to get patients out potentially. And then if we have any staff traveling to that area, they may not be able to come back. We have been talking to our partners like anesthesiology and those folks to let them know that, you know, if they're here, if their partner to relieve them is coming from that area and they can't get by, then they're gonna have to stay here to provide services. And I'm happy to answer any questions on that. Also, let's see, when was this? On the 17th, Governor Dunleavy did introduce legislation to enact the multi-state nursing licensure compact here in Alaska. So if you're in support of that, it's House Bill 131 and Senate Bill 124. And I have the link, which I can share afterwards, but it's always nice to have letters of support. So they can see this isn't just one or two people or just a cluster of people that are interested, that it's really important to have that done. So I can share that after the fact, and I'm happy to answer the question.
Through the chair.
Who doesn't support it? Somebody does.
That's a loaded question. Oh, Professor, would you like to answer that?
I'm not a nurse. But there's some of the hierarchy in the nurse, because I've inquired a little bit too. You know, I've been concerned, why is we struggle so much to get nurses? We don't have these reciprocal agreements. And it's part of the union, is my understanding. Is that right, Ms. McDowell? That they like having the cloistered effect in terms of keeping jobs for the union representatives.
All the hospitals within the state, through the chair, pardon me, all the hospitals throughout the state support it, and AHA is a pretty strong supporter of it as well.
Yeah, I know there's been we have challenges in there with getting nice nursing licenses through in a timely manner. So I'm sure you deal with that all the time.
Thank you. How about hospital?
Thank you. So for home health, we've got 21 patients currently on service with 4 more admissions pending this week. Hospice, we've got 5 patients on with 3 consults actually pending. In the next couple of days, we'll send a nurse up to go and chat with those folks to see if they're willing to sign into hospice. Our average length of stay for hospice is currently 16. And then as far as other program updates, as I shared last board meeting, I am leaving my position early June, late May, but we have found a replacement. Heather Page, one of the other nurses in the home health and hospice department, has agreed to take the position on. She could not be here tonight. She is currently in Hawaii and will be here to participate in the next board meeting. And so we hope to just hit the ground running when she returns to get her nice and trained up. And I hope to stay on remotely in some capacity to kind of help things along as she grows in her role.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay. Foundation report?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
You can, thank you.
Okay, sorry. I'm here remotely. I'm in Kentucky with my newborn baby girl daughter. So, not daughter, granddaughter, I guess. So, I just wanted to follow up. The application period for the Edelman Scholarship is now open. It's open through May 23rd, and all the materials are on our website. Enrollment drive for the Gift from the Heart payroll campaign throughout April has begun. This past week, the CEO, Joe, and I delivered thank you balloons, hot shot gift cards, and the little logo cookies to all of our employees that participate in our payroll deduction at this time. Enrollment went up a little bit, so we'll take every little bit we can get, contributing $545 per pay period. Hot Shot Coffee does have some new hours, and we've kind of shortened those hours in order to be able to help, keep them where they're at, and to keep those employees rotating through. They'll have some new faces showing up through there as we are bringing them through HR to make sure that they're all on board for everything, but we've got some new faces that'll be in the coffee shop. Let's see. The Love Your Neighbor campaign was a success. We successfully raised about $2,300 in assistance for families and that'll be supported through the MIH team. And of that, Bartlett Regional Hospital Foundation donated $1,000 to the campaign. We are working actively with the Home Health and Hospice to promote some upcoming events in the fall. There'll be some more information about that on my next report. And we're also coordinating the Navy Band for a performance on May 4th over at Wildflower Court. There's just some information about our foundation investment below. If anyone has any questions, I'm able to answer them.
Any questions? Thank you. And congratulations.
He's adorable.
Thank you. Yes, I would show you, but I'm actually holding her right now while she's sleeping, but probably not appropriate for the meeting. So continue on.
Thank you. New business, we have an A3 presentation.
Gonna read that, glad I brought the paper. So tiny. So we're gonna go over the MRI and the CTA3s.
Can you introduce yourself to the?
Oh, Paul Hawkins, I'm the Director of Diagnostic Imaging. I've been here for 22 years and I am just coming into 5 years into this role. So, but it's nice to be, be near the sun and be able to watch the evolution of equipment. This will be our third MRI machine for Bartlett Hospital. The one that we had prior to this one coming in, we put in when we were doing our 2005 expansion program. We built it down here in the new system and then moved into the department and started using it then. So, but technology moves fast. Our MRI machine was becoming old and the scan times were an hour to be a little bit over an hour sometimes, and especially if somebody wiggled the sequences. And in order to keep up an increased throughput, senior leadership at that time, it agreed to allow us to put an MRI and 2 CTs and go out and shop for them as a package deal, which we did. And MRI went into service February 10th, 2024. And since then, we've been able to operate and offer a lot more new services than we could before. The big standout for a lot of the doctors and people in the Southeast is probably going to be the MRI of the prostate that we're able to do. We added CAD to it, so we can do an MRI, computer-assisted diagnosis. It's kind of an AI. When you look at an organ, we evaluate grayscale and densities and all these different things to try and figure out what the tissue is made of. And instead of taking it and going around the entire area of the prostate, this AI can do it for you, can make all the measurements, and that can tell you and even color code what it thinks is a cancer. So you have green where it thinks everything's good, anything that colors yellow thinks is questionable, and anything red, it predicts fairly accuracy that it's cancer.
And so as far as, and Dr. Huffer, a urologist, is very pleased about this because it's my understanding that he has the ability to look at the MRI, then fuse images with ultrasound and do an exact biopsy.
But
That marries the image so that he knows exactly something. So it's going to increase diagnostic accuracy substantially. Is that correct?
that's correct. And it also plays off that. So at first the service wasn't offered here at all. And so a patient might go and get all of their services somewhere else, go get the MRI, go get the biopsy, go get their follow-up care. Now they can keep everything here, go see their urologist, go see their biopsy. If it comes back as cancer, go to Southeastern Radiation Oncology for treatment. So it's a big win to keep it all in the community by the service. We've had 36 patients since we brought that on board.
A lot of those, how many have been positive?
Unfortunately, quite a few.
Yeah. Okay.
But then those patients also come back and have further services here, so. There's a lot of other things we can do with this. Like I said, we're thinking about breast screening MRI since the time is a bit quicker. We're not quite on board with that. We're still focusing on our contrast enhanced mammography. The other thing this machine can do really well is MR interrography studies. Now that we have a nice suite in there and it's all private, you can do these kind of exams from Crohn's disease and stuff like that. That we really weren't set up to before. Probably 200 feet from the bathroom, where the MRI was. And now we have one right there next to the machine.
Could you speak up a little as you're, I heard you, but I just wanted to make sure that you could be.
Yeah, the location of the thing, the length of the time, it's harder to get, the turnover and then try to make it, get the most out of it. But now that we have an MRI suite to go with the MRI construction, we can keep everything back in there and we're completely compliant with all of the regulations as well.
Oh, correct me. I think before you had kind of this MRI suite, there was some risk involved, right? Because you couldn't guarantee the patient wouldn't go back and put a watch in their pocket or something metal in their pocket, which if it goes into the MRI.
We just have little barriers.
So if metal got into the MRI, it would be.
That would be disastrous. I don't think, we have really good people that watch that like a hawk, so. And there's only one person who has to keep that door at the time, so.
Now there's lockers.
Yeah. The convenience is. And not only is it a shorter turnaround time, but the quality of the exam is way higher. And instead of having 4 30-minute sequences, you could have 2 or 3 15-minute sequences. And we hope, well, as we use this machine and get more proficient on it, software updates come out, we'll be able to print these down and enhance people further. What we're using to track progression of this is the revenue generated on the new exams that it provides. Any questions so far?
Are you going to talk about CT?
Yes. CT was in the same game, but it was actually a little bit worse. We had a 16 slice CT that we basically had on hand as a backup. Because if our CT is down, then it messes with our level 1 or level, what's it, 3 trauma center designation or 4. It affects our trauma designation and it affects our ability to care for patients and anybody with a head injury or trauma or anything like that automatically has to be medevaced or even know it's trauma. So when one machine was, when we only had the one MRI machine or a CT machine, there was an equipment problem that kind of put us out of business. So we had the 16 slice as a backup to it. But that unit became end of life or end of support, or actually both. So where Siemens was not going to put any more money or technology into it. They weren't making any more parts for it. They weren't going to replace it or repair it if anything happened. So it left us in a position to where we had to buy at least one more CT machine. And then that would have put us in the same boat where we would have had one newer model and then one older model CT. So we got 2 of the same machines. They're both dual energy 128 slice CT systems, very, very fast. Have slightly different software on them. So we have one machine that we optimize for outpatients and wellness exams, the other one for interventional biopsies and the emergency room. But if anything happens to either one, you can move everything to the other machine. We also support Southeast Radiation Oncology. We do their targeting. So when they have a patient who has to go through therapy, that they come in and you get the most direct path to the tumor is identified. And we also support that. So we're able to do both of those things. Now that we have those online, well, first,
Co-located or what is our proximity to each other?
a couple hundred feet, but the one we refer to as the south, that's geographically south. The other one's the north. One is exactly right outside the ER door. So you go from the ER right into the CT, just as you would want. And the other one that we use for outpatients and wellness exams is right next to the check-in. So if you're coming in as an outpatient, you go check in, you go right to the CT. So it's very nice. Our goal is to offer a coronary artery CTA. Like I said, support at Southeast Radiation Oncology, increase our new services. And last year, with 2 CTs running and the busy cruise ship season we had, we did the most CT exams that we ever have. We did 8,400 exams last year. And that was nothing, we couldn't do anything like that without having 2 CT scanners. And we didn't have any downtime.
Or whether we're anticipating similar or regular cruise season. This year's.
I heard we were. I mean, we're anticipating it. We're ready for it.
I'm glad we have 2 new ones.
Exactly. And we also, what a lot of people don't know, like I have a slide up here, we are a designated lung cancer screening center at Bartlett. You can go to the lung cancer screening website, they'll point you out, we're on the map right there. Just offering an exam for lung cancer screening isn't all it takes to be a lung cancer screening center. You have a lot of high quality things, Phantoms images, submissions to the American College of Radiography to show that our images match. We share files, we share QA. So it's an entire program, as enrollment requirements and disenrollment requirements. So you see a lot of patients do that. We've done 220 of those patients started that service. Yeah, and we've found some patients that have come through, they met the criteria. Like I said, we also disenrolled. So you might smoke for 20 years, meet everything, be the right age, have a few scans, get your follow-up with your physician guidelines, and then be discharged from the program saying that your risk of lung cancer now is minimal and you don't have to be in practice thoroughly. And then the ones that are positive get more frequent exams, referrals for biopsies and stuff like that. Coronary artery exams, we've done 37 of those since we started. I anticipate that is an area that should grow a lot. It's underutilized right now, trying to find ways to make it more well-known, higher utilized. The other ones, we're going to track our exams. We can separate ones we used to not offer and what they offer now. And we're also going to tie this in, like I said, the lung cancer screening part, but there's a whole theme with all my other A3s for wellness, body fat composition, things like that, breast cancer detection. It kind of all ties together.
So I have a few questions. There's something called calcium scoring. You know, I'm an ear doctor. I'm not a heart doctor, but is that different than the CT angiogram?
It is, and I'm glad you brought that up. I love that out. Calcium score is $200. There is some requirements that could make it self-referring, stuff like that. It became way too complicated. If most insurance companies do not cover calcium scoring, that has nothing to do with us here at the hospital. It's not something that most insurance, it's one of those that they decided not to pick up. But if you are a physician and you want to refer your patient for calcium score and they want to pay $200 for it, we can get that in.
What is that screen for?
What it does a very quick, high resolution CT of your heart, and our software and computer assisted detection and AI. It measures the calcium in the 3 major vessels of your coronary arteries. It gives you a total calcium score, and then that can give you a risk score. So you may have calcium in just one artery, you might have it in all 3 arteries. If it's a really high score, then those patients should be referred to the other exam, the coronary artery one. That one you can tell exactly what the percentage of blockage in the coronary arteries are.
Might be the best $200 you've ever spent.
They might. And so far, we've done 83 of those. some of those 83 will probably, some of those 37 when they came back. The positive coronary artery exams we had that we referred out, some of the patients I personally know, I mean, they went to a cardiologist, to Virginia Mason and Anchorage, a place like that. And the ones that we said there were 80-90% blockage were, and they got stents right in the same places that we identified that we thought needed intervention. So we're very pleased with that.
No, seriously, the best $200 you ever spent, yeah, because it's a silent killer. Dr. Austin.
So this is a great paradigm shift, really, in terms of what we can do here now. And so there's a high correlation, you're saying, between the coronary angiogram and then the real angiogram. That is great to hear. Two other questions. I'm not a radiologist, so what are we missing? And then the other thing is I imagine our CEOs looked at, these were very expensive machines, but we're getting great utilization. When will they pay for themselves? My suspicion is in less than a year.
Well, it's funny you bring that up. One of the machines, just based on the new revenue that we already paid for itself.
I'm not surprised. And then the holes, you know what, Paul, you must know, you've been doing this for a long time. Are there some services that we're at the edge of being able to provide, but we don't provide radiographically? Can you think of anything?
Nothing that I'm not working on already. I'll be back for asking for AI and some other pads and things like that. More 3D, more wellness.
Curious, what other people are willing out for? Sorry, just because I didn't capture.
There's nothing glaring that anybody that's within the confines of Juneau as far as surgeons and facilities and stuff like that, that I'm aware of that's leaving town to get services.
Any other questions? I have a quick one. What's next in the bucket for you? You said that you were going to be coming.
Well, I got that contest enhanced panel going. That is well received by the community. And fortunately, I think one of our first few patients, we found something that we didn't find last year. So it was like sad, but also happy that we're, to know that what you brought on has brought, an immediate impact. I mean, like right away. But if I could offer the next thing, cardiac MR. We already have everything I need for that, but it just depends on, we have the PACS rollout, as I'm sure you're aware of. Picture archiving communication system that we've already purchased. Once that gets online and then all of the AI and the 3D stuff on that is really going to be about making radiology more efficient and faster and quicker. And there's a lot of different goals that the ER meets from time to doors and things like that. The AI can go through scans and identify if you have a busy day and 200 patients, somebody you might not even have got to yet. If there's something that warrants immediate attention, it can put it right to the top of the list. Those are the kind of things I'm working on that.
Paul, do you want to highlight the AI that happens like with the head CTs too? How that.
Oh, yeah.
happens? That's pretty-
Anybody that doesn't know already, have Rapid AI that was gifted to us on a 3-year. I get in 2 years on that. I have a phone app, radiology phone app, the people in Anchorage that we use for Stroke Center in Providence, they have apps as well. But basically you get aspect scores, perfusion, strokes. It can sense if the blood supply to one side of the brain is higher than the other, brain perfusion. We've done 60 of these brain perfusion studies since that was brought on. You can't do that without the AI. It just takes too much calculation time to even process the information like that.
And it sends an alert, right?
It says alert, yeah. Like I said, I can get it on my phone and see every stroke that happens. And the radiologist can get an aspect score that tells them exactly, what the risk of things are weighing on, and they can look at the images on the app. There's no patient data transmitted. It just is the age and sex of the patient. So worry about data security, because I know that's a big concern a lot of people have.
I imagine that cuts down on on needle time, right? Like from.
Absolutely. And there's even a way to get this rapid AI app out to the paramedics eventually and actually create the order in the field. That would be the next phase in that implementation. So they go from literally the ambulance to the CT suite, get their scan, check into the ER. That would be the ultimate.
Go ahead, Dr.
Just want to comment, I'm perfectly aware of all these, great benefits we've had over the past year, really. But is the town aware of all this stuff? It might not hurt. I mean, these are really amazing high-tech things.
It wouldn't hurt to have Aaron.
Well, Aaron and Paul have worked.
Oh, yeah, me and Aaron work
Okay,
closely together on this. Aaron has a lot of different things that she's working on.
She has degrees associated with helping Paul get out the word of these new services.
okay, thank you.
There has been,
Facebook,
Yeah, there's been
Instagram, house calls, mail outs. We just shot little movies in our department and around the rest of the hospital last week. It was kind of fun. We got into the mail suite and the CT room that you see on the screen here. And got me pictures of that. I don't know what they're gonna do with all of that, but I'm excited. Also intend to up our website, add more content, more pictures, and open up some self-scheduling things at Meditech for the screening exams and run the credit card payments. It's a little off topic, but we offer the body composition one that I'd love to talk about. They can tell you your percentage of body fat that you have and your muscle mass. And you can buy that and lay it on the table and get scanned and know exactly, if you have one arm that's stronger than the other, or a leg or a knee that you're working on, if you're an athlete, or if you just need more reassurance as you're losing weight, that you're doing the right thing. You can see measurable results. I think that's also pretty helpful.
I have one other question. How are we doing with staffing, with all these expanded services? How are we doing with staffing? And how is that affecting the flow in?
The hardest area to staff right now is the ultrasound department. Everybody in town bought an ultrasound machine. So we compete with everybody when it comes to that. So we're also competing for those people. We do see students through the University of Alaska. They come down here and do rotations. It's just every student I've got so far is wanting to go back home, live with mom and dad in Anchorage when they get done, or Palmer, Westell, all those places. That's where the majority of students come from. We did just hire a student from Nevada. She's been here a couple of weeks. She's doing great. But we've had mostly a traveler staff for the last 10 years. The X-ray program right now has 2 students in it that are about to graduate. I'd like to hire both of those. So I'll be asking for that. But we do have somebody retiring and we do have some new service lines that I'll need for it. Like right now, I've got 2 or 3 people in the OR, plus I'm covering CT and ER. So OR is busy right now. And they're taking 2 people. And have to call somebody in to come assist with stuff like that.
Chair. So why is ultrasound a hard one to get staff for?
Well, like I said, Surge has ultrasound, Valley Medical has ultrasound, Uniform Joint has a little ultrasound machine. Lots of people have these ultrasound machines. Dr. Newberry had an ultrasound, and then a lot of those basic, people get pulled away from that. Being on call is something that ultrasound is pretty tough for people in ultrasound when they're on call. They don't like being on call, and to not compete with wages and the on-call piece. And speaking candidly, the doctor's office might say, "Hey, I'll pay you this much per hour, no call, no weekends, no nights, no overtime." You can have, your total quality of life Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, and to us, I have to compete to that. It's a big dedication.
Paul, do you want to talk about how you cross-train your staff too, just so they kind of understand the staff?
Yes, and that's partially why we're not having so much trouble. So if we have really good X-ray people and I have a CT physician, I cross-train them into CT. I cross-train people from X-ray into mammography. We cross-train people from X-ray into MRI. I got some very talented people in our department that can do CT, X-ray, and MRI, and mammo, all those things. So I'll have to do that. Within the ultrasound, so I don't just operate just general ultrasound, right? So we have general ultrasound, we have vascular ultrasound, and we have cardiac. So that's 3 specific fields. General also covers all of your OB. So finding somebody that is able to do all of the ultrasound exams is also a challenge. That requires cross training.
Any other questions? Thank you. That was great information. That's right, Laura.
If you think of anything, you all have my email and feel free to reach out. Thank you.
Right. Got our multi-inch.
Exciting for everybody, I'm sure.
Dr. Miller.
Yeah, so, I mean, I guess the main update from our last medical staff meeting, we have now finally, after probably a couple of years, I would say at least, we finally got our bylaws passed through our medical staff. Yeah, it's a couple hundred pages of document, which it sounds like people have been starting to try to digest. I think overall, I think it does a good job of updating. Obviously, in these 4 areas, we distilled some of that down to try to make things easier to find. Tried to sort of bring them up to speed. I think it does a pretty good job of that. You know, I'm already starting to get some. I guess the short is there's always suggestions for things to change, and so while these were passed in their current form, I think there will probably be some small changes that will come down. Medical staff started to read the documents. There was a lot of little things that came up, or some of them more substantial that I think are good ideas. So I do anticipate probably coming here with some changes to those, since all those will ultimately get approved or not through the board. But I think, yeah, in their current form, I think they help get us kind of more up to speed. I think it had been over 10 years since they had been beautified. Call correctly, that would be all the time. So, yeah, I guess if people have specific questions, I don't have the bylaws in front of me yet, but I can happy to answer questions about them, or if we can go, they're in the document here, we can go to the page and I can help answer any questions.
I have just a general question, and I don't remember it in if I saw it in my review. What is the cadence for review? Like the Bartlett Board in our bylaws says that we're supposed to review our bylaws annually. Is there a cadence in there for review, or is it just when?
Do not believe so, but I could stand corrected. But I don't think that there's any frequency. I mean, this project was kind of taken on by, I think, Debbie Kessler when she was here, and Nick kind of took this as sort of their big project when Nick was during his chief of staff year. And so they kind of got that started or during his chief of staff time. And so, but I don't think there's any explicit cadence of review for this document.
I guess I would recommend that as part of the cycle of periodic review, so that the next go round is not as arduous as the one that you've just experienced, maybe.
I guess I'm not, I mean, I don't know if that will actually make it less arduous. You know, I mean, maybe, because if you're making smaller changes, it might make it less challenging to try to get those through. I think what I found is that as people read them, there were some people have very strong opinions about certain nuances within the bylaws, and so there was a lot of discussion that happened around certain things that maybe were not such big issues in the bylaws, like the makeup of the medical executive committee was a topic that was brought up and discussed many times, and probably from of the things that are important in our bylaws, maybe critical. But yeah, I'm can definitely bring that back to the med staff too, and just see if people would have interest in. It'd probably be good to have some sort of plan for when we do this again, so that it doesn't go quite so long, for sure.
I think we were in the same, the board were in the same boat. I think it had been 12 years or something since we had taken a look at it. And we were doing our final approval tonight as well. Are there any questions? Did you, is your preference to, because you have a number, it's a single action item, and you want, so a single resolution to approve all of the documents that you're presenting, is that correct?
Thank you.
I just,
Yes, I guess that would probably be my, or unless there's concern.
Well, as we were just talking about, there's some little things. I mean, of course, there'll always be some little things, but there's also some just blanks. You know, there's some of the stuff is highlighted in yellow, and I think there's some. I have a hard time putting my finger right on it right now, but there's some things that look like they were incomplete, and you were expecting to complete them.
Wonder if,
You know what I mean?
well, I'm wondering if maybe if the documents that were passed along to you were the final documents, or whether there was, because there have been many iterations of them that have come down with various discussions. So I guess there were some things that were highlighted more at our staff meetings to try to bring to attention of the medical staff.
I'm gonna have a hard time putting my finger on it right here right now. But some of these things that have multiple letters in them, you know, sections, there's at least one place where that's just blank. So, the wording's gone, but I would like to move to adopt these all subject to editorial revision.
So I guess,
So I move the Board of Directors of Bartlett Regional Hospital approve the medical staff evidence documents consisting of bylaws, the medical staff bylaws, the medical staff rules and regulations, the medical staff credentialing policy, and the medical staff organizational manual as presented, subject to minor editorial adjustment.
I second that. Having not witnessed this procedure because I was out of town last month, but over the past few months, this has been sort of a long process with lots of tweaks. And I'm assuming, Luke, nothing really major at the last meeting.
No.
Earlier this month in March.
no, I mean, there probably will be, there's been some discussion about trying to make some changes in the makeup of some of the medical staff committees. People wanted to update some of the frequencies, and so I felt like some minor changes to that section. And then there was some discussion about modifying who could be in active medical staff, which I felt like was probably a bigger discussion that needed to happen, and maybe email plan appropriate to delay the bylaws, I guess, was the two things that came up in the most recent meeting.
So the discussion about active medical staff is going to come at a later time if the bylaws need to be changed again.
There was a request that optometry be considered as a category that could potentially just interest, and then maybe coming in and providing care in the ER. And so that was brought up, but really hadn't been discussed outside of, I think, credentials committee is where it originated from. So that is going to be a topic that I'll bring up in the next med staff, but I felt like that may require some, I mean, it would be, I guess, a small change. You'd be adding them to the list of people that we already can be on active staff with us, but it would be a change. Right now it's dentists, MDs, DOs. But
Okay, I'm okay with everything.
My understanding is that you can change this at any time. You can just bring us that you want to change a comment to a semicolon and we just change it. We don't have to go. So.
right, I mean,
That's good.
yeah, I kind of felt like trying to just move the ball forward on these since they had been sort of stuck in limbo for so long was probably the most appropriate step, with the knowledge that there will probably be some tweaks, but I don't think there was any concerns about the substantial elements of this update during that session.
yeah, I speaking for myself, but if anybody disagrees, let me know. But for I'm looking for the definition of editorial. Is it grammatical, punctuation, capitalization, acronyms? Those don't need to come to us if you're making changes.
I would think small word choices fit in there too.
So we shouldn't, you shouldn't need to feel compelled, you, the medical staff, you shouldn't need to feel compelled to bring that stuff. It's only substantive changes.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else we need to do?
That was really the rest we'll have discussing. That was kind of the meat of our.
Okay, thank you. Committee meeting update.
Excuse me, your point of order, we need to dispose of them.
Yes, we do. I'm sorry. I apologize.
No objections from me, sorry. I thought you, no, I mean, no objections from me. I second it. I'm following.
Okay. You're seeing that, no objections. Now let's move on to the committee meeting updates. We have action items from all of the committees. Max, would you like to address the facilities master plan?
Yeah, sure. On page 255 of the packet are the minutes relating to the facility master plan and with an action item for the board to approve the facility master plan proposal.
Are there any questions with regarding to do we have that?
The actual plan starts on 257. I don't think we need to go through it. We had it in a couple of packets now. But the motion by Hal was at the bottom of 255.
So, sorry, this motion has come forward from the joint planning and finance committee. It's been moved and seconded. Are there any objections to passing this motion? Thanks, Max. Seeing no objections, this motion passes as well. Any questions for Max on the Joint Finance Committee? Any other comments?
The only other item we had was the budget, which we had a special board meeting about. So I think we don't need to go back through that.
Okay. All governance committee.
Yes, the minutes in the packet, the government's committee, I think adequately summarizes what we went through. The thing that we have tonight before us is a revision of our board bylaws. We presented this at the last board meeting. And since that time, we did go through it and cleaned up just a few more little things. I know Anita caught a capitalization error, a few little word change. This is substantially what we saw last time. And it's from the governance committee, so it's a motion.
Is there any discussion?
Oh, excuse me, there is one thing. As I looked at the minutes from the last meeting, there was some question about during executive sessions. And I was just a little bit unsure as to whether or not we addressed your concerns, Max. There was some
No,
question.
I don't. Oh,
Pardon?
no, go ahead. Sorry, Hal.
There was some question about whether or not we went through this issue with a couple of years ago with an executive session where there was a specific person who may have wanted some things to not be in the public. But some other people wanted things to be in public. So I'm showing the change on item 2 here under executive session. I just want to be sure that met your.
So you're on page 305 now?
Actually, I'm on the piece of paper, so I'm under the executive session. I'm not sure which page that's on.
Anita, could you go to 305? I just want to make sure we're looking at the same, I think we are, Hal. I just want to be sure we're on the same page there.
I'm 295 right now, Anita.
Hey, I can't see the numbers.
Seven.
97. It's not pretty close.
Next page.
There it starts.
Bottom of that page.
Yep.
Keep going.
So I'm having a hard time seeing the screen. So we're on page 305, which is section 730, item number 2.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. And the change was made, I know we had the discussion about it, and I'm familiar with the issue, but what was the specific change that was made, Hal?
Well, I believe we changed it to and provided that specific person may request a public discussion. An executive, okay, so reading the whole, for anybody who can't read it, any executive session where the subject to be discussed tends to prejudice the reputation and character of any person shall require advance notification of that person, and provided that specific person may request a public discussion. So if that person's mom can't request a public discussion, that person's enemy can't request a public discussion. I can't request a public discussion if I'm not that specific person.
That,
Well, in reading through this, I don't have any concerns with the language here, so I'll be honest with you, I didn't do a side-by-side of the previous language, but this looks fine to me. And if you feel like you've addressed that, Hal, then I'm fine with that.
and this language came from the final review from law. That was her recommendation so that we wouldn't have
No, it's CBG's requirement. So we're following there.
Any other questions or comments? The only thing that I would ask is, do we know when this is going to go before the assembly? Has it been scheduled yet?
They canceled the April meeting. The March date's been set yet.
The May date?
I think it would be March. I'm not sure.
We're in March.
Oh, sorry.
I don't think we're making much.
Another beer.
Yeah, exactly.
So she proposed May 7th, May 19th. Which, yeah,
Any of them will work. It's far enough out. Okay. Are there any objections to approving the revision to the bylaws? Seeing none, the proposed bylaws are approved by the board and ready for forwarding to the assembly for approval. All right. Any other questions for the governance committee? Questions or comments for the governance committee? Then okay, move on to the quality and compliance committee.
Okay, the minutes accurately reflect what was discussed at the meeting. And we have a motion that was approved to advance the compliance plan to the board. And this is the annual compliance plan for 2025.
This is also coming out of committee, so now's the time for discussion. Are there any questions or comments with regard to it? Thank you for the work that you guys, your staff and this committee put forward. This was a bit of a lift as well. Is there no objections Seeing no objections to this, this motion's passed as well. Okay.
And only of note after that is now that that's passed, then Gail will be working on the work plan for 2025. So thank you. Your work is not done yet.
And this is calendar 2025, correct?
Yes.
Any other questions or comments for the following your plans? Move on to the CEO and administrator report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So it was an exciting month at Bartlett. Started with March 7th, we had a toaster oven fire in the ED that kind of started the day off. That's a bad start. So with that, what we've done is we've built facilities gone through our hospital to look at what we'll call them legal devices we have throughout the hospital, or non-compliant devices. So we had toasters, we had ice makers, we had all kinds of appliances people have brought in for the convenience of, like work-life balance. But some of those have been removed at this point, and anything that could cause an issue or was found to be non-compliant standpoint. So you might hear that we were seizing toasters and toaster ovens throughout the facility. So we maintained the facilities went through and took toasters and toaster ovens and some other items, but they have been labeled. People have been notified how they did them. So if you hear this through the rumor mill, we're not stealing people's things. We're also trying to find an even a way to add some of these items like in compliant areas where they can, come in and make a bagel or something for breakfast. So, we want Bartlett to be a good place to work, not take away all the luxuries. So we're trying to find that. From a legislative standpoint, the continuing resolution was passed prior to our retreat. Two big things that came out of it from our perspective was they did extend our DISH funding, which is the funding we receive for our mental health unit. So that is our DET program. So that is extended through September 30th. We have talked to the Cassidy, so they're not important for that. That basically makes that program solvent. It's worth $1.1 million. That is the question, Madam Chair.
Yes.
So, Joe, in terms of that dish, that's very important funding, but would the Souls Act
Then supplant that if dish goes away, or would?
Two separate funding streams.
choose completely
Yeah.
separate? Okay.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't necessarily help to be
No.
critical access.
The MHU is considered a distinct part unit from Medicare standpoint, so it's excluded from critical access reimbursement and our sole community hospital. So they are completely, it's like a whole separate license.
Thank you.
You can think of it as a different facility.
And Joe, can we just dwell on that just for a second? Because the DISH reimbursement we get is what makes the mental health unit inpatient something that we can afford to operate. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah. It comes in two different buckets. We get two buckets of money. One is about $550,000, and it basically makes up for what Medicaid doesn't pay today. So what Medicaid short pays us compared to cost, this $550,000 makes up. So that'd be a hole that immediately be there. The other piece is it pays the cost for any patients that are involuntary admitted by the state. So 30-day holds, they pay for those through this other bucket of money, the other $550,000. So with both those going away, the viability of us being a DET, which is a designated evaluation and treatment facility for the state, would have to be something we have to talk about probably at the board level. Answer your question, Max?
Yes, thank you.
Well, the other thing that wasn't in there that Dr. Raster brought up, there was no mention of the Souls Act at this point. So that was something that we'd hope to be in there. Something I think we have to have further conversation as a board, whether we continue on waiting to see if the Souls passes at some point or we move forward with critical access. Like I say, from a financial standpoint, January was another positive bottom line. February's looking like it's going to be at least break even. Could be positive. March revenue has spiked because of the census and just the volumes that Bartlett's experienced. So we'll be looking at 9 months of straight positive bottom lines through March would be my guess. And then that gets us into cruise season.
Hey, Joe,
Yeah,
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I just want to make sure that we're separating the current positive results we're having from the structural reimbursement issue that we potentially have. So we've had some positive results over the last several months, in large part because we've reduced our staffing cost, and we've done a good job increasing our various areas for reimbursement. But it's kind of like we kind of caught back up, didn't we? So we still have these structural issues. So if we don't have the SOLS Act, if we don't have DISH, and if we don't have outpatient cost adjusted through SOLS, or if we lose the demonstration, all of those, when we look into the future, are going to have are really foreboding kind of issues for Bartlett, right? I mean, I just think we need to keep focused on that issue. I just don't, when we mention, hey, current results are looking good, that doesn't necessarily kind of speak to the issues that we're facing as a hospital over the long term.
no. The point I was trying to get to is, I mean, I think we have time because the next date that this one SOLS will be possible was September 30th. Then we'll have definitive answers on some of these other programs. Like DISH would have to be decided on at that point. It just sets that next marker, whether that's the point we make the decision or not. Another thing to consider, as Ken pointed out, over the last 2 weeks, probably, we would have been well above what critical access would allow us to have for patient volumes. So on several days, we were well above 40 patients. And so we've seen volumes over the last, I think, mostly this year that we didn't see when we were doing our initial look back. So that just makes sure everyone's considered.
Thank you.
Moving down the list, Kim touched base on the nurse compact licensure. We will send a link for that. There also is another bill that I may send out a link for if you guys want to put a letter of report to, is the prior authorization bill, SB 133. So in a hospital setting and probably in a clinic setting, prior authorizations is kind of the bane of practice. So you have to jump through multiple hoops to get the insurance company to kind of agree with the doctors. So this would basically expedite the process. So if we win prior authorizations on, I think it's 90%, basically they can't require prior authorizations on that service. So we'll start streamlining some of these processes from doctors and hospitals. We are in the process of our next week go live. So we have a trainer on site right now. We've had our buyers getting trained today. We've had our directors getting trained today. So we will be going live on April 1st next week. Everyone I've talked to is getting more and more excited about the process of switching in next week. Any system change is overly daunting. It's like trying to move your house, It's always scary, and then once you're in the new home, it's nice. So that's what we're in that phase of moving.
Sorry, what's next one?
NetSuite is our new accounting software.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Sorry. From a provider update standpoint on oncology, Dr. Mallett has given us notice that he plans on retiring in December. So we are looking for a new replacement currently. And we have Dr. Vishnu, which came to us in February, and he started practicing. He's kind of had some conversations with us. We might see if we're able to expand what he can offer and try to make up the weeks we would be losing with him. But him, like Dr. White, has been there a long time, kind of the backbone of our oncology program. So we'll have to look for a retirement party at some point for him as well. For other services, this was the first week Dr. Welber did his surgeries. It was in a super busy day. OR was jam-packed yesterday, as Dr. Mallett can probably see. So there is multiple total joints done. We had Dr. Brown, which also has become a full-time provider in the community. He had surgeries yesterday as well. So, and then from an orthopedic standpoint, procedures are happening at a much rapid pace than in the past, it seems like. Dr. Brace also started in our clinic. We'll be looking at upper extremity stuff. He's done his clinic. I think we're looking at scheduling his first surgery. Other rumors that might get back to you guys here, we are going to start shuffling offices in this building. So we're going to try to co-locate some services so that makes sense from a patient standpoint. So right now we have HIMs located in the building next to us. And we have PFS downstairs. I can't tell you how many times I've seen someone looking for their medical record at the window downstairs. So we're going to shuffle the building next door. We're going to move HR over here so they're co-located with education. We're going to move Sarah and the clinic staff from downstairs over into the clinic. So when someone wants to see the doctor and pay a bill, they're all in the same building as well. We're just trying to take services and co-locate stuff that makes sense right now within our existing footprint. With that, we will move Moving Foundation downstairs to where staff education is. So they will have be in this building and have a little bit more transparency, a lot more people walking through that thing. Might get back to you again. Moves are never easy for people, and there will be problems. From a strategic standpoint, we've rolled out our third visual board. So if you guys ever make it down to the cafeteria, we have our visual management board down there, which is going to have all our strategic planning, all our A3s will be on that. Also use it for some of our wellness programs. So if you get down to see that, it'll be in the hallway just outside the cafeteria. And lastly, I guess not lastly, budget reminder. We'll be presenting our budget to assembly on April 5th. So each Deb will talk about how we'll put that presentation out this week and get ready for that. But I would encourage everyone to come attend. It's a great show. It's a great affair. Lastly, Route 2. Lastly, this past week on Monday, we met with Senator Fikowski. Had several providers, some of them in this room that were able to attend. She was a great listener. We talked about some specific competition issues that we talked about later. She seemed to grasp great questions, understand the issues we're getting across. And I've heard from Kara that she's gone back and she's initiated additional research on those subjects. So I'd be interested in that. We had a similar conversation with Sullivan, so he had a lot of questions about our local competition, how we see the market unfolding. He also talked about SOLS Act a little bit and some of the stuff. We were able to express how the SOLS Act is important to us, how the DISH funds are important to us, and all these other programs. We also talked about the Medicare payment status. So the board might know this, physicians, but Dr. Astor and Dr. Mather have seen Medicare cuts almost every year. And it's roughly 33% over the last decade or something like that compared to the cost of living. And so that's created additional strain on small income families. So that's something else we want to talk about to make sure that our med staff is also compensated fairly for Medicare. Yes, with that, I'll open up to questions.
Well, I've got a comment and a question. I did hear you proceed these toasters. Yes, but you also mentioned these letters. So when I got to the legislature, our legislature, tried to talk about things, the bullet points right there in the letters are helpful. You just mentioned something about a letter. Who were you thinking might draft it? And where we?
So what we do is have a sample letter that comes from AHA. So the Hospital Association sends us a draft letter. You can fill out some specifics. Kim did one for nursing contact that they sent off. She also sent a link to all the nurses in the facility. But I'll share the link basically. Hey, these are the issues. This is why it's important to us. And here's a sample letter if you wish to send it.
So are you going under, is something going out under your signature, under Deb's signature that is a hospital position? And if
I think
can we do that? I propose that we take a position.
We can do that. I mean, we've taken a position through the Hospital Association as recommendation. What they want is letters of support from various community members is what I see the request in favor.
Well, if I had a letter from the hospital with your signature, something that would help me prepare how to figure out how we write my letter.
Yeah, I'll try to send something to you.
Thank you.
It'll probably be next week. Any question?
Joe, I don't know if now is the time to kind of talk about or rehash the conversation that y'all had with Murkowski and Sullivan. I appreciate the time. I know that you and Dr. Raster, Dr. Tingy were involved in that, and Deb. What's the next step though? I mean, it seems it's a great first step that we got her ear on this issue, but relative to the competition issue and also Souls, what is our next step? Where did that get left with them? And I'm just curious on y'all's thoughts on where we go from here.
My perspective was Murkowski was going to dig into the issues more and try to understand them. I've sent an email to Cassidy, who is her healthcare aide, from my perspective, I guess. Just thanking her for the issues, reiterating the importance of them, and asking if she needs any more feedback or anything from us. We're happy to provide that. But I think it's got the balls in her court from my perspective. I don't know what everyone else's takeaway was.
Yes, I would agree. I think that I was amazed at how well she listened, and she was, I think, a little astonished by the point of care reimbursement that Search, for instance, gets $2,000 and the private doctors get $130. And so there's, I'm sorry, $1,200 versus $130. But still, I mean, almost 10 times as much. And she's very open to listening about mental health care and substance abuse. So that really helps with our mental health care issues. And so I thought she was very attentive, but one suggestion was made that if Search, for instance, is going to provide care to broader society, that perhaps their board should be made up of broader society rather than being a native healthcare. So there was a lot of food for thought, Max, but I think she wants to do some of this research. There was no set timeline like, hey, we're looking for relief from this. I think we were very comfortable to just sort of articulate our positions and leave it at that. Brent, do you have any other suggestions?
No, I agree. I thought it was a productive meeting. She gave us plenty of time to talk, and I think she was well informed by the end of it, sort of what our position was. And yeah, I agree. I don't see it. I hate to be pessimistic, but I don't know that a whole lot's going to happen really soon.
Yeah, if I may again. So I don't see this great retraction. I don't see a great deal of change, actually. And actually, Deb was right there. She watched every minute of it. And so I see more of a status quo. When one thing that we had articulated is, even though this is a private meeting, I don't think it's a private issue, but we had talked about sort of maybe getting help from Search in terms of helping right with our mental health care and substance abuse. And we were kind of rebuffed. And so that was, I think, an issue that she heard loud and clear. And so if we were to try and do something together again, there may be more political sway at the national level to support that. Is that a fair assessment?
Not sure why the providers weren't invited to the Sullivan, the meeting with Senator Sullivan. But he was, it was a good meeting. I think he was not as well informed as Lisa, for sure. I think there were some enlightening moments for him, but I don't expect a lot of movement out of Senator Sullivan's office. Is that the impression that you got as well?
That'd be my impression overall. He did have some questions about the all-inclusive rate that Search gets, and he had questions about how that's calculated versus the normal PHC, for instance. So we made the argument, it's set at the super high level. It doesn't really make sense for the Juno market. So he had a lot of questions about that. My assumption might be that'd be the only way that any change was that changing.
And at both meetings, as when we were having a conversation about our issues with Search and imbalance in reimbursement rates and their the differences in the services that we provide that they're unwilling to provide. The first thing out of both of the first question was, have you reached out to them? And we gave a number of examples. So I think that was enlightening for both of the senators.
Thank you guys for doing that.
Yeah, I
Yes.
mean, it was good meetings. No immediate outcomes. Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Joe? Okay.
Hold up here. So our, in February, our average censuses look pretty similar to what they've been looking for the last several months. The ratios, we still have 44, 45 long-term care, and then the rest of the makeup is the skilled nursing and subacute rehab. As of today, though, we have 56 residents on our census, so I'm incredibly happy with that. So, and we're looking at getting number 57 in the next 2 weeks. So and that would have somebody in every room, and at that point, it would just be adding more to the double rooms after that. So, yeah. So, we continue to work on our process improvement projects, just added a new one, and still have traveling staff to make up full staff now that we have the census filling up. But we've got some classes coming up starting in April with CNAs, hoping to get 6 CNAs. We onboarded by June. Are there any questions about the census?
I just want to say good job for, you set a goal of 57 patients and you're almost there. So kudos. It's a lot of hard work.
I did.
And the same question that you probably get every meeting, how's the staffing going for you?
Doing okay. Still more travelers than we'd like to have. But again, as we have these core CNAs coming through with the different classes, we've got one in April, another one in August, another class in August, right? And we're looking to really lower those traveling CNA numbers. We have all the positions we posted on the Bartlett website for our licensed nurses, so for registered nurses and for the licensed practical nurses. So not a lot of movement there though. The staff development department is supporting in an LPN class, and then also the nurse supporting LPN to RN class. So I would love to see a couple of more from those classes. That's yet to be seen.
Any other questions or comments for Ms. Gauss? Okay, thank you. Mr. Stringer. Do you have a report for us? You are on mute.
Oh, hello, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Excellent. So thanks. Sorry, I'm not in person this evening. I've been a little bit under the weather the past few days, but I appreciate being able to call in. Over the past months, there's not been a lot directly Bartlett related in our assembly meetings that we've had. However, we have spent a considerable amount of time working on the lease for the Highlands for the proposed new Huna Totem dock. Had a lengthy discussion on body camera footage policy. And then in kind of more general, community interest, the work on the installation of the HESCO barriers along the Mendenhall River has gotten started. There's been some site prep work. They're going through and communicating with all those property owners. So it's been good to see that getting underway in time for the flood season to come along. I believe Joe mentioned this, that you guys are on the agenda for our Saturday meeting in early April to start the kickoff of our budget process and give us an overview of the Bartlett budget. I'll just point out that you guys are second to the last on the agenda for an 8-hour meeting. So expect us to be, real fresh when you guys come around and start presenting, but we will be there to ask you questions and have a good conversation. But other than that, available for any questions if anybody has anything assembly related.
Last year.
Yeah. I don't know. Well, I don't know what's worse, being first or being last.
I think the worst is being right after lunch when everybody's, kind of got that little bit too much food in them.
Got it. Are there any questions for our liaison? Thank you, and we'll see you on Saturday the 5th, if not before.
Good.
Right, thank you. Next is the president's report. We talked about a lot of things that I've been involved with in this last month, the meetings with the senators and a couple of other things. The only thing that I wanted to bring up is at our retreat, we discussed having one or more meetings to discuss to review the strategic plan and see if our current strategic plan and see if we need to make any movements in it. Joe and I had a conversation. We kind of talked about how that would work. There wasn't at the time a lot of interest in another multi-hour session. So one of the things that we talked about, and I'd like the board to weigh in on this, is postponing that until we were further into, or at least had a draft of our facilities master plan document, just to get that research done so that we could review our our 3-year plan through the lens of what might be coming forward on this facilities master plan. So that we're looking at probably fall, so maybe August, September, something like sometime in the fall. If that is, if there are no objections from the board, rather than having a meeting fairly quickly. How?
The thing that I got out of the strategic planning meeting is that the administration, the board is pretty much in alignment with strategy for now. So I don't see the need for right away. I don't think
that was part of our discussion, is that it wouldn't necessarily be a productive meeting. It would be more productive if we pushed it out and had more information that would come out of it. The strategic plan, I'm sorry, going master plan process. Okay, well, if there's no objections to that, then to that suggestion, you'll hear more from us later in the year about scheduling as we move forward with the facilities master plan. Okay, board calendar. All right. Credentials. The credential meeting is not, it's a standing meeting. I'm assuming that there's no changes to that. Right after that, joint conference is meeting with us. Well, not right after that, I guess at lunch hour. And we're still good with that, Dr. Miller?
Yeah. First, yeah.
You probably all have seen that we have the Planning and Finance Committee meetings have been canceled and rescheduled for Wednesday, the 16th. You probably got invitations for that. Today, correct? Yesterday, yeah, that's right. It's Tuesday today. Pardon? It was too late to update this. So. And I think that's the only change. Are there any other meetings that we are that we need to schedule? I think we're on a cadence for our other committee meetings. Correct? Okay. If there are no changes, I'd entertain a motion to approve the board calendar as has been amended in the last 2 days.
Sure, I'll move to approve the board calendar.
I seconded the amendment for the dual meeting.
Okay. If there are no objections, the calendar has been approved. All right. Any other board comments and questions? Then let's take a break and go into executive session. And we'll take a quick break before when we come back, we'll move to go into executive session. We're back in session. Are we recording? Yeah. Thank you. There was one more comment that I wanted to make before we move into executive session. I'd like to thank him in particular and the rest of the Bartlett staff for their reaction to the phone and internet outage. I know it was a lift, and Kim put in a lot of hours, as did many others, trying to make it work so that we could connect to our referring provider. So thank you guys for all the work and for keeping us informed as to what was going on. Appreciate it. Good job. I would now, and if there are no other comments, now that I tossed one out.
Yeah. Just curious, has there been any sort of thought about moving to the Starlink?
Right. Terry, yeah, when this all happened, on the weekend that it happened, that Saturday, we had contractors come in and run conduit up and cable up to the helipad, and we have purchased a Starlink business package, and so we'll have that as part of our emergency management package, and it's ready to go, and we just got to plug it in if that happens again.
Yeah, thank you. I would entertain.
You put so well.
Madam Chair, I move the Board of Directors of Bartlett Regional Hospital recess into executive session to discuss several matters, including those which by law, municipal charter, or ordinance are required to be confidential or involve consideration of records that are not subject to public disclosure. Specifically, the credentialing report, the staff meeting minutes, and the patient safety dashboard, and I ask that you be given flexibility to decide which staff can stay.
I would, the folks that are here now are welcome to stay. I don't believe we have any other, any issues that would need anyone present. I can't. You have a second? Sorry. We're now in executive session. Okay, quickly. Not quickly, you can take as much time as you want, but.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So in response to our presentation at the Rural Healthcare Leadership Conference last month, they are now asking us to do a presentation and for the trustee services to reach out to them to do a Zoom call to do a a written presentation for their trustee services related to dashboards and trustee engagement for their 12,000 members. So this is an email I just got from them today to reach out and provide that service for them on our workplace violence dashboard.
Thank you. That's exciting news.
Yes, so I will be reaching out at a time when we can meet with the American Hospital Association next week.
Okay. Thank you. And Kim, your comment about the podcast?
Yeah, so in conjunction with that, through the chair, they've asked also that we participate in some sort of a podcast and talk about the workplace violence initiative we started in the ER, which was the magnets on the doors to indicate, how many staff had to go in with each patient. So they've asked to speak to that for us.
You're gonna be well known. Thank you all. Are there any other? Yes. Having a day, apparently. It was a late night. At work.
I need a movement or need a motion. Okay, I move that we accept the credential report as presented.
A second.
Seeing no objection, we have accepted the credentialing report. Okay, I think it's time for us all to go home, and look how early we are. Before 8 o'clock. Thank you all for your patience with my distractedness. Have a good week.
Thanks, Jim.